Yo, what's up guys? So today I want to talk about the ugliest skate tricks ever. Now, obviously this is subjective, so don't get your feelings hurt if I named a trick that you do a lot in here. This is just, in my opinion, the tricks that I think are the least rewarding in terms of how much you have to grind to learn the trick, master it, style it out, and when you look at it on film, it's not that cool, right? Now, obviously there are some exceptions. When you think about the most hated skate tricks ever, a varial flip probably comes to your mind. And this, for whatever reason, has always been a trick that everyone hates and says it's the ugliest skate trick ever. But then you have people like Cyril from Baker, who just absolutely styles out their varial flips, or like Versace Plug with these beautiful varial flips. And so there's always an exception to the rule. There will always be someone, like for me, a half cab is probably one of the ugliest skate tricks in my mind. So that will be trick number one. But there's always an exception, right? When I say a half cab is one of the ugliest tricks ever, then you could easily offer a response that no, half cabs are pretty sick. Look at what Chris Chan does with his half cabs. Again, there's always an exception. So I just want to talk about generally, without the exception, generally the ugliest tricks in my mind. And starting off with what I just said, half cabs. To me, this trick's pretty low on the ugly list because it's a very easy trick to learn. So you get very little reward, but there's not much effort that's put into it initially. So it's not really that much of a loss. Whereas other tricks that I'll get into in a second, you put in a lot of work to learn, and you get very little reward as to how it looks. But overall, the half cab's just not the coolest trick, just because I don't know. Unless you're Chris Chan, it's not too stylish. It's more so a trick that's used just to like half cab up onto an obstacle, or maybe just do like a half cab off something. It's never really a mind-blowing trick when you see someone do a half cab down a huge stair set, right? Because you're just essentially rolling fakie and then doing an ollie and turning back to where you normally ride. I don't know. Just it's not a mind-blowing trick. If someone were to half cab El Toro, I probably would feel indifferent about it, to me. Okay, trick number two is a 360 shove it. To me, again, one of the ugliest tricks ever. I hate it because this is a trick that I'm really good at. Like really, I could do it every try. But thanks to people like Dylan Ryder and obviously, I guess the new trendy wave, Impossibles have completely blown 360 shoves out the water, to me. And Impossible is just such a cooler trick. You can see the wrap on the board, the way that the board rotates vertically, and the way that you can land on an Impossible is a lot cooler to me than a 360 shove. To me, a 360 shove, it shows a little bit less control because you just scoop, you wait, try to land on it, and you don't have much room for error in terms of how you land. Like the only way that it could really look cool is if you land bolts, but if you land a 360 shove if you land a 360 shove on the nose or on the tail, it just looks whatever. It doesn't look cool, it doesn't look bad. But but an Impossible, on the other hand, you could wrap it and land it completely on the nose, like in Ride here, you know, like the Ride intro. This guy always lands it on the nose, but it looks sick. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Can't explain it. Dylan Ryder, he's probably the guy that I think of when I think of Impossibles. And maybe it's just like maybe it's some sort of nostalgia for me to think about Dylan Ryder and Impossibles, but I would much rather prefer those than 360 shoves. Okay, trick number three, and that has to be the 360 hard flip. Out of every trick here that's on this list, this has to be, for me, this has to be the worst trick on here. There is so much that you have to put in here, so much time and effort that you have to put into learning this trick, and it doesn't look cool at all, in my opinion. Don't get hurt. Jason Park, if you're watching this, don't get hurt. Anyone that does 360 hard flips, don't get offended. I just think that this is one of those tricks where you spend so much time learning, and it just looks like basically you just flicked your foot out, waited for the board to do its thing, and then landed. It doesn't really show control, you know. I don't know, man. It's like I would much rather watch someone do a backside flip than a crazy trick like this, because with a backside flip, it shows how much control they have over the board. If you do a good backside flip correctly, you can see where the skater flicks, lands 90, catches it, and then rotates and lands it. It shows this whole progression of control while they're doing the trick. But a 360 hard flip is essentially just kicking your feet out, letting the board do its thing, and landing, and that's what it is. Number four, sorry Braille, sorry Aaron Cairo. I don't know why this is such a crazy trick to some beginners. I don't know why every beginner learns this trick, me included. It just kind of happens when you skate. But Casper flips. And I want to add on here strawberry milkshakes, coined by Braille. This is just the dumbest trick ever. Do I even have to go into this? Like, when are you going to use this? What are you going to do, a Casper flip down a 3-star or something? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And lastly, I want to say for the fifth and final, any sort of multiple flip variation. Unless it's a double flip, that's kind of an exception. But if you're doing triple flips, quadruple flips, quintuple flips, I don't know if anyone's ever done that. But if you're doing like quad kick flips down stair sets, sorry Jeff to Cesare, I know I'm calling out a lot of people in this video. It just, again, this is another trick where you look like you're just throwing out, you look like you're just kicking your feet out and hoping to land. Doesn't really show much control, and with tricks like this, you don't have much time to catch the board. So a lot of times you catch the board when it lands on the ground, and it just, to me, it looks pretty sloppy. But that's it. Those are my 5. Let me know what you think. Is there one that I missed or one that you disagree with? Let me know down below, and peace.